SummerSlam 2023, Detroit Rock City. I was there. I'm going to go ahead and give you the in-person breakdown coming up.
WWE SummerSlam.
What's up, y'all? It's your boy Seth Grimes, and welcome to my SummerSlam 2023 in-person review. I was there. I was in Detroit, Michigan, live for this event, and I am still tired and exhausted, but I'm here to go over the entire event, give you my review of SummerSlam, but from an in-person perspective. I have not seen the event back yet or even watched any reviews. I started watching one from the Solo Monster. I got partly into the Cody match, Cody Brock. Other than that, I haven't seen any commentary. I haven't heard anybody talk about anything. I barely even seen any Facebook posts, man. I've been busy going today since I woke up. But enough about my life, right? Let's get into this review. I had a fucking blast. Just to kind of take it from the top, I live not too far. And this is just going to be a conversation, by the way. I'm not going to do the real official type thing. We're just going to have a chat ski here about my time in Detroit and the matches and so on. The atmosphere, if you will. And pardon my sinuses. I had a sneezing attack before we went live here. And the show must go on. So fuck yeah. But yeah, I live within reasonable driving distance of Detroit. Last time I was there, I was in Detroit last year for Blood and Guts in AEW at Little Caesars Arena. And that was fun. But other than that, I don't really go there. I had a bad experience, in the college years. I actually went to an Insane Clown Posse show, and my homie got his car stolen. Of course, we had parked down the block, a couple blocks away, and somewhere where we probably shouldn't have been parking, but other people were parking there and that sort of thing. But his car was stolen. And it was a whole fucking thing. Lucky we were there with a few other people and a couple other cars, and we were able to split everybody up and squeeze people in and get everybody home. But Detroit's got a bad reputation, and it's not unfounded. My time there was shady at best. But, I've heard that they've revamped this downtown area where everything is, and they've made it very tourist friendly, and I concur. I gotta say, being there, it was a booming city. At least the downtown area, right? Like where everything's within walking distance. So I was able to, I drove there, bought my ticket last minute-ish, like a week before, maybe 2 weeks before. But I thought about going to SummerSlam, and I was like, tickets are expensive. I checked, there were only $200 tickets available. I was like, it's going to price me out. I love WWE. But I don't love it so much. There's not people on the card that I'm dying to see so bad that I'm going to spend $200 on it. But as we got closer, I started getting antsy. Started feeling, and as a matter of fact, I was talking to someone who had kind of casually mentioned, because they go to concerts and stuff, and she kind of casually mentioned, always buy the ticket. And that's just kind of her motto that she goes by when she was talking about this particular event that she went to. And with SummerSlam in the back of my mind, I had kind of thought, I'm going to regret this if I don't go. Always buy the ticket, right? The money is the money, but the memories are more important in the end. You can always get money back, and things are tight for some people, and for some people it's really easy. But look, single dad, 2 kids, homeowner, you know what I'm saying? Shit's tight. But always buy the ticket. So I looked online again, and there was one for $100. Just one. I didn't go with anybody. Sadly, none of my friends are really huge wrestling fans. And my kids don't even like wrestling. I try as I may, you know, and I can bring them. You know, I have brought them to events before, but they don't really have a good time. And why spend $300 for tickets for the three of us to go when I could just spend $100 on one for myself? So fast forward, I am on my way to Detroit, and I get there, find my parking garage up on the 8th floor of this bitch. But as soon as I get there, I can see wrestling fans everywhere, right? There's 50,000 wrestling fans in downtown Detroit. They've taken over, you know. There's your casuals out and about. You see those two, you know, your regular Detroit hustle and bustling, but the whole downtown area was taken over by wrestling fans. And this was a very lively downtown area. There was live music playing. There were bars that were like open, so you could just kind of hang out outside, or restaurants that were open. There were the trolley bar carts that like drive you down the street, play music while you can just get drunk and sit at the bar. There's restaurants. There's just all kinds of fun shit going on. It looks like a cool hang. It looks like a very cool, like artsy, like they put a lot of effort into, hey, come hang out in Detroit. I don't recommend going off the beaten path still. Detroit is still one of the most violent cities in the country. And it's a big city, and it's a dark, dangerous, dirty, rundown, very broken city. You know, it's not a myth. But that downtown area, all the credit in the world, man. And that's, you know, I was going to say that's really all they need, because everything's in that area. You know, I was just walking. So I walked from my focus. Goddamn camera. I walked from my parking garage. You know, I chose one. Fuck, my sinuses. That, at least according to Google Maps, was in the vicinity of Ford Field, right? So, and then one of my destinations was Mom's Spaghetti, which also happened to be in walking distance of Ford Field. And that's Eminem's restaurant. For those that don't know, you know, his palms are sweaty, vomit on his sweater already. Mom's Spaghetti, that song from Lose Yourself, Eminem. Well, he made Mom's Spaghetti a restaurant, for those that don't know. And it's a little restaurant in Detroit, right across the street from Comerica Park, where the Detroit Tigers play, which is right by Ford Field, where the Lions play. I could see Little Caesars Arena down the road. It was a little bit of a walk, but it was right down the road, like close enough where you can see it, you know. The Fox Theater is a famous theater in Detroit. That's right there. The Fillmore Theater is right there in Detroit. It's right there, right next to Mom's Spaghetti, as a matter of fact. So, had to try the Mom's Spaghetti. I wanted to ever since it came out. I was sad last year when I went to Detroit for AEW Blood and Guts that I didn't go then, but my buddy that I did go with that time actually had a pizza place that he really wanted to try, where they drop like fried eggs on top of a pizza, and then there's ham. It's like a breakfast pizza. It was good as shit. It really was. But I was craving that Mom's Spaghetti. Now, the Mom's Spaghetti itself, not bad. Not bad at all. Not great. Not gourmet. It's not like, oh, this is the best spaghetti you'll ever have. You probably cook better. I cook better tasting spaghetti. It's kind of, I don't know if bland's the word. There's not a lot of spice to, you know, like, you know, the Italian seasonings, the oregano, the basil. There's not a lot of that. Garlic. There's not a lot of that going on in there. It's just kind of red sauce and the thicker noodles. I actually like the thin angel hair pasta better than the thicker noodles. I'm not a big noodle guy. I like noodles. I like spaghetti. Don't get me wrong. I love spaghetti. But I would prefer the smaller noodles to the big, fat, chubby. It's got the big, bulky, wormy motherfuckers. But then the meatballs were really hearty. The sauce to noodle ratio was on point. You know, a lot of people I always see like these fancy people in TV shows or whatever, they scoop like a fucking spoonful of pasta sauce on top of a plate of pasta. And it's like, you're eating fucking noodles. What are you doing? Put some sauce on that shit. Sauce it up. So the sauce to noodle ratio was on point. There was only like 3 meatballs, I think. 3, possibly 4, but I think only 3. And then they sprinkled the Parmesan cheese on top. I got a regular. You can get large for an extra $4. You can upgrade it. I was full off the regular. It looked small, and I didn't think I would be. But by the time I made it through that and a piece of garlic bread, I was full as fuck. The meatballs were nice and hearty. You know, it tasted like good quality beef. It wasn't that cheap, like fucking... like when you go to get like a meatball sub from Subway and you can just tell it's just low quality, like Gordon food service bag of meatballs. This is not that. These were nice, hearty, beefy balls. And they got bologna spaghetti. I don't know anything about that. Vegan. But as far as the beef balls, if you're going for the balls, they're nice, hearty, fat balls. Okay? Good set of balls in mom's spaghetti. But it's a little bland. You know, it's not going to be very Italian, spicy. It's just there. It's just spaghetti. It's serviceable spaghetti with a probably upper par meatball, but again, no seasoning, so it's still kind of just there. But worth the experience, man. Just to say you went to Eminem's restaurant to get the experience of the walk-up window. It's kind of cool. You know, hang out with wrestling fans in line. That was really fun. I recommend it if you end up in Detroit at all for any other event. For WrestleMania goes there in the future, or if you're just at Little Caesars Arena for something, make the journey to Mom's Spaghetti. You'll be happy you did. Moving on, though, because you guys didn't come here for a Mom's Spaghetti review, but fuck it. This is my entire Detroit SummerSlam experience, right? So then what I did... so then I walked in, and you just walk through. I timed it perfectly, because by the time I got there, I didn't have to stand in line outside of Ford Field. I could just walk right in, essentially, is what I did. There was maybe 2 people in front of me. And as I walked in, you know, you walk through a beeper, a metal detectors, which are outside the building. And then once you're inside, they scan your ticket on your phone. And that's it. You're in. No pat downs, no nothing like that. I'm sure I smelled I smelled really greasy, I'm sure. You know, sweaty. I had a headband on to absorb the sweat, because I know how I do and I know how sweaty I get. And I was quite sweaty. It wasn't hot per se, but it was humid, thick, and just the walking around and stuff like that, you know. Got inside, had to take a leak, bad. And then I filled up on a water fountain. They had a water fountain working in this fucking building. That's a way to not have to buy a $6 water, though I ended up buying a $6 water anyway. $6 water, 20-ounce bottle of water, $6. God damn, the markup in these buildings. The building's beautiful. Ford Field, this facility is top notch. So was Little Caesars Arena. Like I said, just everything they're doing in Detroit is fucking on point, man. Ford Field is a beautiful venue. I've never actually been in a stadium. I'm not a sports ball guy, so I never went to that. Never been to a WrestleMania. The biggest pay-per-view I've been to was a Royal Rumble, and it was in Detroit, but it was at the Joe Louis Arena before that's no longer around. And then I was also at a Elimination Chamber in Milwaukee at the Bradley Center. But I've never been to, you know, a stadium show before for anything, really. And I was kind of surprised at how, like, it's big. It's a massive building, don't get me wrong. And when you look out into the crowd, it's vast. C4, by the way, sponsor of SummerSlam. It's good shit. It's not bad. But it was still very arena-like. I was kind of surprised at how much it still just kind of looked like a bigger version of like any other arena that I've been in, just bigger. You know, because the floor space is obviously not anywhere near the size of a stadium. That's the big difference. And then, you know, because you get the wide floor space, you get the wide stands as well. But it's still just like the 2 tiers. And then above that's all your like VIP booths and stuff. So it wasn't like the tiers are stacked up to the heavens or anything. It was just a wider, bigger, rounder arena, essentially. 50,000. I think the official is like 51,000, but they announced it at like, what, 59,000 was the attendance they announced. I mean, so every single seat that was available was sold. there wasn't like spotty empty seats or sections or anything. It was crammed, but they did close off the entire full back wall. So there was like the arena was filled on three sides, essentially, the wraparound. But like where they might put the stage and kind of just close off that back wall, they still just closed off that back wall. It was darked out, no light shining on it. They had a big tarp they hung over it. No seating on that entire side. There wasn't even a curve around. Literally, like when the bend hits like where it would transition into that wall, just blackness. So it was not a sold out building, but it was a very good attendance. They could easily, I think, WrestleMania got 80,000 in there, didn't they? I believe they could get up to 85-ish in that building. But the crowd was hyped, man. Lots of little kids, lots of families. Really cool to see. Lots of people with their championship belts. There was several people dressed up, most of them as the Macho Man too. For some reason, there was many Macho Men in the crowd. I had the great pleasure of sitting next to a gentleman dressed as Dude Love, some dirty hippie with long hair, in full Dude Love garb, which was fun. And then there was lots of little screaming little kids, and then there was some heel ass fans too. There was a couple Roman fans that were just healing on everybody, and anytime the little kids were chanting for Jay or whatever, these two guys would root for Roman and kind of counteract and just go heel on the kids. I used to do that too. My first couple wrestling shows, like in my college age, because I never went as a kid. My parents never took me to shit. But when I first started taking myself to wrestling shows, me and my buddies would go there and we'd fuck with the younger kids. We'd cheer for the heels and stuff like that, which is taboo now, right? You can't even you gotta boo the bad guys like you're supposed to, like Sam Roberts always says. But I kind of agree with that now. Play along, man. Be part of the show. And we'll get to that. Holy shit. This crowd was hyphy. So I'm in my seat. Show starts. Perfect timing, like I said. By the time I get in the building, I use the bathroom, I drink at the water fountain. I wasn't gonna stand in line and get a water then, but I just decided to go sit down. By the time I sat down, that was like they were ready to start the show. It was basically like blackout, and then they started playing the video, and then welcome to SummerSlam, Kid Rock and all that shit. Kid Rock got a little heel heat in the arena or in the stadium. It's not everybody's favorite nowadays. I'm indifferent. I don't give a shit. But he was, he got a mixed reaction, to say the least. People liked him. People were booing him. Then when the show started, Logan Paul opened the show because apparently he had to duck the fuck out to get to his brother's fight, which his brother won, by the way. I did not watch the fight, but I did get a chance to watch on YouTube. You can find, at least for now, they have highlights of the fight. And it was pretty long. I saw significant chunks of the fight. Looked like Jake Paul was kicking Nate's ass pretty good early on. He even dropped him once. And Jake never dropped or anything like that. But towards the end of the fight, Nate Diaz was coming back. It looked like maybe Paul was getting tired. Because Paul was the superior fighter at the beginning of the fight. But this was, like I said, I didn't watch the whole thing. But as the fight went on, it looked like Nate's cardio kicked in. This was a guy the commentators pointed out swam to fucking Alcatraz, right? So this guy, and that's supposed to be, you're not even supposed to be able to survive in those waters. This motherfucker's cardio was on point. Jake was suffering towards the end, and I actually thought Jake might have lost just based on the highlights, but when they gave the announcement, Jake Paul did win the fight. And then they panned to Logan. Logan made it to his brother's fight. He was still in his wrestling gear. Still in his gear, not even a t-shirt on or anything. I think he was still shirtless. He had his elbow pads on and everything. And he was sporting a black eye. He had a real good fucking shiner going too. So apparently he got stiffed somewhere along the way in his match with Ricochet. From my vantage point, it was hard to see the details of what was going on. And I did find myself frequently looking up at the big screen, which I'm thankful was there, but it sucks to pay money to go to a show to watch it on TV, which is what you're doing for a lot of that, to get the facials. You know, like when guys, you know, you can't see the expressions on the people's faces. Like when Brock is, you know, reacting, or Cody's grimacing, or what, you can't get that picture from up where I was sitting. You just get to see the action, and I didn't get to see all of the intricacies of this, but they would zoom in on like Logan messing with Samantha Irving, who did great, by the way. She was, selling it like $1 million. But this was a good little fun match to get the show started. Logan Paul was a big time heel. There was really nobody cheering for Logan in the arena at all. Ricochet got a good reaction, but not like oh my God, it's Ricochet. Just almost more like, oh, we like this guy and it's the first match and we hate Logan Paul. So that's kind of Ricochet's reaction there. And then, Logan won and he got the fuck out of there, and we were moving on to, the match was fine. I would like to see it back because it looked like they took some nasty bumps out to the outside, but it's harder to tell that from up high. But it was a good little acrobatic back and forth. They did some cool spots, but they didn't do as many as I would have thought they might have. Maybe saving more for down the line. But it was a serviceable match. I don't know that I'm not going to go through and do star ratings on this just because, like I said, seeing it from my vantage point, there's intricacies that you would be taken into consideration of a match rating that I just couldn't judge on at this point. But they moved right into Brock Lesnar and Cody fucking Rhodes. They moved quick. Like you got no time for bathroom breaks or go to the concession stands or anything like that. When you're sitting in your seat, it's kind of like a little come on, because it was very hot in there, by the way, sweating my balls off. But then for like 3 minutes, you'd get a blast of like this super heavy air conditioning. It felt like a giant air conditioner just blowing down on me. I looked up. It appeared to be like right above me, essentially. And it would cool me off, and then I would sweat profusely again, shoved between men. The seats it's not a lot of room, man. If you're a hefty guy, if you're a well-proportioned man, and look, I got a gut, I'm a dad bod kind of guy. I'm not slim by any means, but I wouldn't say I'm like fat like some of these wrestling folks that were there. But there's some big old hosses there that I don't know how these people were fitting in these seats comfortably. It just, it's a long time to sit there, even for me, Plus, like, I'm getting to the age now where, like, my knee starts to get stiff and stuff. Like, fuck. So anyway, Cody came out. Brock got a decent, like, heel reaction, which surprised me because Brock's a big star, and I would have thought people would have been more excited to see him. But then... And I think I've only seen Brock live once, actually. I want to say he interacted with Hulk Hogan on a Raw at some point. By the way, jumping back to that Logan Paul match. When he started doing the Hulk Hogan shit, I got a lot of heat. But when I was listening to the Solid Monster, when I started that review, he mentioned they're calling it the Hogan Paul. Is that his thing when he does the leg drop? Is that move called the Hogan Paul now? That's a thing he's doing? By the way, CM Punk's been doing that to get heel heat, so I don't know if Logan's kind of jacking his shit now, but it works. It got heat. People don't seem to like Hogan very much either. But someone that people do like is Cody fucking Rhodes. My God, did Cody Rhodes get a mega star reaction. I'm talking girls were throwing their panties at this guy. I'm talking little kids were fucking screaming like little girls. Grown men were weeping. It wasn't that exaggerated, but it kind of was. Cody Rhodes was the most over by a mile on this show. my God. And the kids. This guy is over like Rover with the fucking kids. I can't believe how fucking hard all the kids around me were going for Cody Rhodes. And the whoa. Like, first of all, I was very excited to do the whoa. Very excited to do the whoa. Because you got to do the whoa. I've never seen Cody Rhodes live. I've been to 2 AEW shows, maybe 3. I want to say 2, but it's possible 3. You guys see that Skeeter flying around? I got that bastard. Look at that. Should I eat it? I'm not editing any of that out. You guys, it's just part of the experience here. We're killing skeeters on live fucking. Doesn't have any blood in it, so it didn't poke anybody yet. Good. Jesus Christ. What are we doing here? Cody Rhodes. The fans fucking ate this guy up. The whoa was fucking, I mean, everybody. And you could hear it. You could feel them. They were like, everybody was getting ready. And there's a reason why when you watch it on pay-per-view, and it's kind of the same with or when you watch it on TV, I was going to say, it's kind of the same with Chris Jericho, right? You get bored. I'll use Jericho as an example. You get bored with listening to the fans sing Judas every single week and it playing out and looping and stuff. And it's like, okay, it's cool, but I see it every single week. Come on now. But they do it for the live fans because if you go to shows, you only get to do it in person once, ever, twice maybe, but it's something you want to do. You want to sing along with Judas. I'll be coming, and you want to do the whoa for Cody Rhodes. So they loop it 3 fucking times. Plus it's a big stadium and it's a long walk or whatever, but when they let it go on way too long, it's because the crowd was eating that shit up. The crowd loved it. It was big. It was way over. The song was over. Cody was way over. They were into Cody like a motherfucker. When Brock kept fucking suplexing them everywhere, Cody, everybody, kids, women, grown men. And I exaggerated a little bit earlier, but all of them were, come on, Cody. You can do it, Cody. Come on, Cody. People were in, it was like the old fucking trailer park shit, where people thought it was real. Come on, Cody, get him. I was flabbergasted. I was very, 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 you hear it on TV and you have a pretty good idea about how over Cody is or people are in general. Cody's a megastar. And I think they made the right call when he didn't beat Roman at WrestleMania. I think by the time WrestleMania rolls around this year, people are going to be ready for Roman to go away for a little bit, or at least not be the champ anymore. And Cody, my God, knock on wood, he doesn't get injured or anything like that. I think the crowd's going to be behind him twice as hard as they were last time. It worked. It was smart. The long game. It was a risky play, but it seems to be panning out because been to a lot of wrestling shows, and I don't know that I've experienced somebody that over in a long, long time. Just amazing. So that was really fun to see, and they had a really good match too, from what I could tell. It was a lot of Brock throwing Cody around, but Cody just kept getting up. Brock kept trying to kick him out of the ring and maybe get a count out or just stay down, you know what I mean? But Cody kept getting up, and that seemed to be the story of the match. And then he fought back and he overcame, and that motherfucker, man. The end too, where Brock. And we all were expecting Brock to heel on Cody, because when you do the arm raise, that's almost a dead giveaway, right? And then especially when you do it to all 4 corners, come on. That's gonna end with an F5, but it ended with Brock's respect, and especially because Brock kind of headbutted him too a little bit. When they got face to face, Brock gave him a little headbutt check, but then put his hand out. It was a great story. I thought it was a really fun story. It was a story of Cody just showing how tough he is to earning Brock's respect. It was like Brock. They never really explained why Brock wanted to fight Cody. I think Brock, if I'm to put my own pieces together, Brock was just looking to pick a fight with Cody. Here's a guy that everybody likes that thinks he's a big shot around here. I'm gonna beat him up. I'm going to beat him up some more. And I'm going to beat him up some more. But he keeps coming back. This motherfucker. He keeps coming back. He keeps coming back for more. I broke his arm. He's still coming back for more. What do I got to do with this guy? Okay, fine. You know what? You got my respect. You're a tough bastard, Cody Rhodes. I respect you. I'm going to ride off into the sunset and move on to somebody else. You, sir, are a gentleman. And they can always come back to that when Cody wins the world title. I think there's plenty of meat on the bone there. Now you let it breathe. But, once we get past WrestleMania, if Cody's the champ at that time, which he should be, then Brock's absolutely somebody they could revisit right away, or even, SummerSlam next year. What did they do next? I think they went to the Battle Royal. Was the Battle Royal next? And this is where I talk about they don't give you time to go pee, because by this time I had to take a piss again. And this being, I'm not used to this, because you go to an arena show, you can kind of get in and out of the bathroom pretty quickly. But here at the stadium show, there's 50,000 people here, 51,000. There's a line in the bathroom. And luckily it moved quick, especially with guys. Nobody washes their hands. You just fucking piss, shake it, and move on with your life. So luckily the line was moving fairly quickly. But man, I missed the LA Knight entrance. But you heard the pop. They started the goddamn Battle Royal, and I was so close to getting it that if AJ Styles came out before LA Knight, I would have caught it, because I was there for AJ Styles' entrance. AJ Styles, but I mean, you still heard it. I was in the building. I just didn't physically, I wasn't there to see it. You know what I mean? But the bathrooms are right by the fucking, so you can actually still see over into the arena and hear everybody react. LA Knight got a huge pop. Second biggest of the night, I would say, to Cody. Second biggest reaction, I would say, to Cody. LA Knight's over like Rover. They were anticipating it. And all the LA Knight, yeah. And that was a very common thing, too, throughout the building. It seems to be, I dropped my pen. We're chaos over here. Fuck it. We'll do it live. That seemed to be the big thing. Everybody was, everybody, like, the crowd would just randomly, L.A. Knight, and then, like, somebody, just some fucking fat mark would just yell, L.A. Knight, and then everybody else would just go, yeah. That was the thing. That was like the fucking war chant for the whole show, fans in line everywhere. That was the thing wrestling fans were doing at this show when they weren't watching the show, like just out in the hallway or whatever. And then that they were invested in the Battle Royal because of LA Knight. Almost got a good heel reaction. He got a good groan, like it was almost like, we know he's gonna win now because of the presentation that they gave him with MVP. Kind of hold on, you can't. And then Omos, I actually like Omos a lot. From his interview he did with Chris Van Vliet, he comes off as a very good dude, a humble dude, a smart dude, a well-spoken dude, and a huge wrestling fan that gets it. And I actually do see reason to want to invest in this guy long-term going forward. He is an athlete. He's a basketball player. He's still kind of a shitty wrestler, but look, Giants were never great wrestlers, but they are spectacles. And you could see that man from way back where I was. He was right there. But the crowd was invested in this Battle Royal, this Slim Jim Battle Royal. But they were invested because LA Knight was in it, I think. Well, what do we got? We got Tommaso Ciampa, The Miz, Shinsuke Nakamura, Sheamus, Santos Escobar, Otis, Riddle, LA Knight, Karrion Kross, Grayson Waller, Chad Gable, and AJ Styles. Otis was pretty over. People liked Otis. AJ, when he came out, got a good pop. People love and respect AJ. AJ gets mad love from the fans, which, thank fuck, he deserves it. AJ is one of the greatest of all time. Should be remembered as one of the greatest of all time, period, ever. He's got to be in that conversation. Top 25 wrestlers of all time. AJ Styles on that list all day long. And he gets the respect from the fans. He's a respected vet. I would say he was the most over in this battle royal, other than LA Knight, of course. Even more than Shinsuke or fucking Shamo or whoever. Chad Gable too, I guess, got a lot of love, but this was about LA Knight, and they did the right thing here by putting LA Knight over. I still think LA Knight probably should have got a shot at the U.S. title against. He was in there too, right? He's not on my list here. The U.S. champion, fucking, what's his face there? But LA Knight was the man here. This was all about LA Knight. They did the right thing. Put him over like $1 million. Couple good teases there. But in the end, LA Knight gets the win, and the crowd, that's what we needed. The crowd needed that. The crowd would have flipped the fuck out, in all honesty, because it was an LA Knight crowd. LA Knight's over like motherfucking Rover. Second only to Cody Rhodes, in my opinion. I know a lot of people have their thoughts on it and that sort of thing. People fucking think he's ripping off The Rock and Stone Cold, and there is definitely a touch of that for sure. But LA Knight's a star. There's zero doubt about it. His shirts were everywhere. Everybody says he's the top merch seller now. It looked like it. It was his shirt, and then it was the Detroit 316, which I really, really want. Another cool one was Detroit Brock City. That was fun. So there's some cool shirts going around, but LA Knight was in full effect here, and giving him the win was the thing to do. The crowd ate his shit up, just like the whoa with Cody's fucking entrance theme. It was the LA Knight, yeah, all night long. People they were hanging on his every fucking word, his every move, everything he did. He was a star. Even the Slim Jim commercial with Bianca Belair and LA Knight, and then the Macho Man. I actually really like that commercial, by the way. You got to move it forward into the modern era, so I don't mind the recasting of new wrestlers. And Bianca, but she's good for representation, I guess, female and for African American community. So I get why she would want to be in that. But LA Knight, perfect fit, really, to replace like a Macho Man as a spokesperson for that. So that was cool. The crowd actually popped for that Slim Jim commercial. They liked that. So next we had fucking Drew McIntyre, and I could care less about Drew McIntyre. I hate him. He's probably on my top 10. Someday I plan on doing like top 10 TikToks and that kind of thing, at some point when I got extra time to record a bunch of them and do those as like content and stuff. One of my top 10 hated wrestlers is Drew McIntyre. I just don't get it. I don't get what anybody sees in him at all. But my God, the kids loved this man. Not so much the grown-ups, not so much the ladies, but he was really big with kids. All the kids around me. I had several patches of kids. And it was interesting to hear what appealed to them. And certainly LA Knight was big to them. Cody Rhodes was big to them. And Drew McIntyre apparently is I don't know. Gunther was over with the grown-ups. Gunther was over with the men. I love me some Gunther. His entrance was really cool to see live, actually, too. It's impressive. He's got a very unique presentation, and I am all for this guy just fucking staying Intercontinental Champ till he moves up and fights like Cody next year for the WWE title or something, or becomes a world champion instead. That's certainly awesome too. He could be a guy to dethrone Seth Rollins. But this was I knew it would be like a meat slapper, right? You know, a banger. You know, they're going to go out there and beat the shit out of each other. I just wish I kind of took my bathroom break then. And Drew McIntyre, like, I love me Gunther, and I was entertained because Gunther was in it. But I just don't care about Drew, and I'm actually pretty sad that Drew got a spot, a highlighted spot on a SummerSlam card like this in the big stadium. They bumped Becky Lynch versus Trish Stratus, and I think when I bought my ticket, Trish Stratus specifically was a selling point for me. Not the selling point, but when you start to rattle off, well, Logan Paul's going to be there now, Brock's there, Cody's there, Roman's shit, and then, Trish Stratus. You get an opera. When are you going to get to see Trish Stratus? That was a selling point to me. So I'm pissed, actually, that would have got bumped for like a Drew McIntyre. But Gunther obviously deserves the spot. I just think maybe a better opponent, a different opponent, or maybe not on SummerSlam for Drew McIntyre. Maybe for Payback or fucking Monday Night Raw. I don't know. Just not a Drew McIntyre guy, but hey, that's me. But I was glad to see that Gunther got the W, and that his fucking reign of terror is still continuing. But this was a big lull in the show. Both just, the come down from the LA Knights and the Codys and stuff to a guy like Drew. But also just that, it was hot and sweaty, and I was burning out from the blunt ski that I smoked on the way in. And I was just like, it was killing me dead. And the next match did not help things. I was no more pissed about Becky Lynch and Trish Stratus getting bumped than I was with this fucking Shayna Baszler and Ronda Rousey match. Now, I think the only reason that they got this spot to begin with was because this was Ronda's last match. Is that correct? She's asked for her release, or her contract's up and she's not renewing. Whatever the case may be, she's getting out of there. It's weird because Ronda Rousey was such a megastar. Like, at one point, Ronda Rousey would have been a draw. At least for me, it would have been like, because she was a megastar in MMA. I think people forget that already because it was so long ago. She was a megastar. She was every bit the star Conor McGregor is, or fucking Diaz brothers, or more, bigger. She was mainstream as fuck over that. But her star has faded so far. She's kind of just meh at best. And Shayna Baszler, she seems cool enough, but she's older and kind of past her prime as well, and nobody cares. I mean, charisma, she doesn't have the Riz, you know what I'm saying? So this match just stunk up the joint completely. And coming off of, I thought, at least for me, and I could tell from the crowd too, it wasn't just me, but the crowd in general was more in the Gunther and McIntyre than I was. But this really sucked the wind out of the crowd. And it started out with just death, right? So the crowd, and I don't know how this came across on TV because I have not watched it back. I'm very excited to see how this came across on TV and how the announcers worked around it, what you could hear from the crowd. But here's my experience from in the crowd. Dead silence. No one cared. Zero. That old saying of, you either want a good reaction or bad reaction. What you don't want is no reaction. And then people kind of scoff at that, like, yeah, but if you're a babyface, you want to get cheered, not booed. But this is a perfect example of that, because no reaction is really bad. This was death. And not only that, but you could see, I wish I would have filmed it. You could see the seats were emptying as fuck. This was the bathroom break match. This was the popcorn match. This was the time to go get your shit done, because the seats, I want to say the whole, like a quarter of the building left during this match. I'm not shitting ya. Entire rows were empty completely. The aisle, everybody, it was just like the fucking people were leaving. And it was dead silent. But then the crowd got to a point where they started getting pissed. And I felt it too. As a matter of fact, I felt the urge to boo before the crowd started booing. I actually probably would have started a boo chant. I'm not one to start chants though, because you don't want to be that guy that says something and you're like the only guy that says it, and that's happened to me a couple times, and it's like, okay, I'm just gonna sit back here. But boy, the crowd started getting pissy with this one, and they were silent and ignoring it and just like, whatever, we'll go get our popcorn, we'll rest, we'll play with our phone, whatever. And it kind of got to a point where like, all right, we paid a lot of money to be here, this sucks. So then the crowd started kind of getting unruly and buzzing and booing a little bit. Boo. And then suddenly that's when the "this is boring" chant started. And I don't know how loud those got on camera, but I am telling you, fucking everybody was chanting "this is boring" at these people. And we were, oh my God, our whole section was cracking the fuck up about this. Those poor ladies got destroyed by the crowd. They hated. Even the little kids were talking about how boring the match was. And it was later on or whatever, they were like, it wasn't as bad as that girls match. Shout out to the Jim Cornette's fans, right? The girls match. Cornette always shits on the girls match. Oh, the poor girls match. The girls don't get enough time. Book the girls better. Nobody cared. Nobody cared. They laughed. Everybody laughed. Everybody booed. They actively booed. They actively said, fuck you to this match. They did everything but throw shit and turn around and fucking sit on their hands. Horrible. Shayna Baszler won. Nobody cared. Ronda Rousey left. She's leaving WWE. Nobody cares. On to the next. Seth Franklin Rollins taking on Finn Balor. This match was the best match on the show, in my opinion, from my perspective, from my point of view, from my seat, my angle. Maybe not the most over, and maybe it benefited from having a bit of a lull before it. But to me, this was they put on the best in-ring product on this entire show. Cody's and Brock's was really fun for what they did, but it wasn't as good of a wrestling match. Seth and Finn went out there and had, like an AEW style, like an actual wrestling match, as opposed to an angle that takes place in the ring, like say fucking Roman and Jey Uso did later. Which is fine, too. I'm not criticizing. I'm just saying this was the best wrestling match on the show. Seth Rollins was over as fuck. And I got to tell you, Finn Balor was pretty much, too. What's over is the Judgment Day. I might even put Judgment Day third, but it wasn't necessarily Finn. Finn might be the weakest link, because when he came out, he got a decent little... People like Finn. Like, he wasn't... Nobody was indifferent. People didn't dislike him or anything like that. But he was, boy, when Damian Priest came out, and maybe it was because of the possible cash in or whatever, but the crowd got stoked. They were into Damian Priest, but they also reacted when fucking Mommy and Dom jumped the rail. And they came over, the crowd popped hard for that one. They way underutilized Rhea. I don't know if she's nursing an injury or something, where she's just doesn't, they're trying to get through her not having to compete, but not having to drop the title or something. Like a little fucking sprain or something that will heal in a couple. I don't know what the deal is, but Rhea deserved a match on this card more than Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler did. So did Trish Stratus. I'm pissed about it. I think they both deserved. And Rhea got a huge pop. It would have been nice to see Rhea wrestle. I don't think I've ever seen Rhea Ripley wrestle live, especially not in her modern like beast mode that she's in now. But her and Dom got a huge pop. The entire, with the exception of Finn, like I said, people liked him, but he wasn't like over. I got the impression that Damian Priest and then especially Rhea Ripley and Dom were over with the crowd. So as a faction, they're a big time faction. They need to continue with that. I think, it's interesting because I had thought early on, like the Judgment Day, but it kind of reminded me of the New Day. Not that they're the same, but when the New Day first started, it was kind of like, They were doing some stupid shit, and it wasn't really working, but they stuck with it. And then they tried different things, and then eventually it started clicking and growing on you. And it taught me that in wrestling, sometimes, especially with factions and pairings and stuff, sometimes it's worth giving it time if it's not working right away. Instead of just going, oh, well, the crowd's shitting on that. Let's pull the trigger on, splitting them up or something. Give them time. Let them get over. And I think that's something that has worked to the benefit of the Judgment Day now in the modern era. I think the time that they've had to be a faction has just strengthened them as a team and gotten them all over. Finn may be the weakest link, but, I think Damian Priest is destined for big things. I would not rule out a WrestleMania main eventer, top of the card, world champion type guy. He might get it with that briefcase. But even if he does, it'll be like his entry-level mid-card to main event transition title run, not like his I'm the king of this shit title run, right? That's still to come, but I see that for Damian Priest. Dom has a nice he's not going to fizzle out. He's up and running. He's found his path. He doesn't need to be the son of Rey Mysterio now. Now he's almost more Eddie-like in a lot of ways. He's more, and it could just be the mullet, but he's sleazy, he's dirtbaggy, but he's cocky, and he taunts and flaunts it a little bit, and the use of the word mommy, and it's very reminiscent because she's bigger and like a big femdom, it's very reminiscent of Eddie with China. They're really very much evoking those energies. And I think a Dominic Mysterio that's closer to Eddie in presentation, sky's the limit for that guy too. And then Rhea Ripley will obviously go down, in my opinion, as one of the greatest female wrestlers of all time as well. One of the biggest stars. She's a megastar. I don't know why she's not on this. Just look at the fucking woman. My God, does she look like she would sell fucking all the t-shirts, fucking Funko Pops, everything. You know what I mean? Like, she's they got something with that. So I would might even put them, they were over. I don't know where I'd rank them, but that Dom and Rhea pop and the Damian Priest pop got big reactions. Seth going over though. Fans love Seth. People respect Seth. The singing, too, of his entrance, also something the crowd really got into. That's a huge part of the show. And the sustaining. Like, the crowd was going to... Here's the thing. When the music shuts off and the crowd keeps going and Seth's just standing there, I don't know how it comes off on TV. It's like, okay, enough's enough now. This is on too long. The crowd will go until Seth puts his arms down. I'm telling you right now. They were into it. That's part of the fun, is you're acknowledging Seth. You're praising. The crowd was not going to die out. There was no dying out. It was continuing. It was ongoing. Seth could have stood there for 5 minutes straight and the crowd would have sang that shit. It was unbelievable. It was so cool. Very cool to be a part of that, especially in a giant arena or a stadium like that. Seth was over as fuck. That match, like I said, my match of the night for sure, as far as in-ring, how hard those guys worked, the reactions they were all getting, the spot with Rhea and Dom and Damian. You can see the dissension kind of going there a little bit, but good shit. Very good shit. So by the time we got to Asuka and Charlotte Flair and Bianca Belair, this was kind of a bad spot, that last before the main event, because frankly, like, we're tired and burnt out as a crowd. It seemed like the crowd was kind of, not that they were completely exhausted, but their tank was low. They had the spoons, if you know the spoon concept. They were low on spoons, so they were saving their spoons for the main event. People wanted to save, they wanted to have the big reactions for the main event because they knew it would require it. So I felt like people were kind of hanging back on this one, but not in a bad way. Not like the Shayna Baszler Ronda Rousey thing. People really were into this match. I think, at least from the crowd around me, and I'm just going by the people's reaction. I was very in tune with the people's reactions because, how I think and feel about things is one thing, but how's everybody else thinking and feeling? And not the trolls, not the marks in the comments on the internet that go, oh, the whole thing is stupid. But like the people that paid the money to sit in the building and watch the show from up in the cheap seats, what do they think? Charlotte Flair, very much a star. She's her whole aura. She feels like a star when she comes in. I don't know how else to say it. I think Charlotte has earned my respect over the years. She gets that kind of, oh, Charlotte wins again, LOL thing that John Cena had back in the day, or Roman had, where you almost feel like she's getting shoved down your throats. And honestly, I kind of did expect her to go over here tonight, and then it would be cashed in on her. But this was fair, too, what they did. They gave it to Bianca Belair instead. That's fine. The crowd bought the injury ankle angle for sure. There was a lot of people. Some people are too smart for their own good, too, and WWE plays off of that. Sometimes I feel like it goes over my head. Or like, let's start over here. They did the X sign right, or the referee did some sort of gesture, and then everybody ran out, the medical people from the back or whatever. And the crowd knows just enough to know that, oh, that's what they do when there's somebody's really hurt. And I always go, like, I kind of cringe when I see that, you know what I mean? But like, other people buy it. So people all around me were actually pretty concerned about Bianca, and she got a little like a clap or whatever when she was able to get back on her feet and be walked out. I bought it up until the point of, because I don't know what's on camera necessarily either. I mean, I guess I could have looked up at the big screen, but it didn't seem like they were making a big spectacle out of it, like it was an angle, right? But the crowd certainly reacted to it, and but it was when they tried to, when they were trying to limp her up the fucking aisle that goes, 50, 60 yards, half the fucking football field, half the length of the stadium. We're going to walk her up this fucking long aisle with an injured knee. They're not going to roll out a golf cart or something for her. That's when I knew it was an angle. And they were taking their sweet ass time. They weren't up the aisle. They were right there where Bianca could just turn around and run right back. And I don't know how much of that you're able to see on while you're watching the show, if it felt like Bianca had left the building or something, but she wasn't very far from the ring at all, and there was no way that she was limping up that fucking aisle. That thing was way too goddamn long. That was a grandiose goddamn entrance aisle, so that's kind of when I knew that something was up there. But it was a good way, especially in a triple threat. You always got to find those creative ways to kind of bring it down to 2-on-2 at some point, because otherwise it's a clusterfuck. But the ending worked out good. I really liked the mist with Asuka. Asuka's over as shit too. Charlotte came out. Charlotte has the vibe of a megastar. She's a star. Asuka was over. Like, she's a cult favorite, kind of. Like, people really like Asuka, but she's not like, oh, we get to see Asuka. Charlotte really did kind of have an aura of, you are seeing somebody important here, which was fun. I actually appreciate that about Charlotte. I like Charlotte. I'm coming around to her. Bianca, I'm not as sold on yet. I think, to me, she needs to evolve. Like, I respect what Bianca has done to get to her place at this point, but it's still I'm on my own against the world. La 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 la. And it's the same shit. Like, can you get mad? Can you look mean? Can you not twirl and dance and do your? I mean, I don't know. Like, it's old hat at this point. Let's evolve this character. Let's turn her heel. Let's cut the hair. Get rid of that fucking braid altogether. That's what you do. That's the big move. Turn her heel, cut the braid, give her a bad attitude, make her meaner in her matches. This fucking hop, skippy, jumpy pandering to the crowd is getting us nowhere further. She needs a change. That's my opinion, though, because other people seem to really like Bianca. She's, certainly hits a demographic that is well needed in the wrestling business, and they might just need to keep her in that babyface spot because they want that babyface African American female that little girls can look up to and say, I can be that when I grow up. You know what I mean? That is important to see on your TV. And Bianca fills that niche. And I don't see anybody else really sliding in and being that top babyface for that community. But at the same time, her act's stale, in my opinion. It's getting stale. And I think a good little heel turn refresher, a haircut, and a bad attitude, and a mean streak is exactly how I would book her. Then you had the cash in. You had fucking Io Sky coming down the aisle. People knew it was coming. They were ready for it. Like, this was as easy to predict as the fucking sun will come up tomorrow, I think. I think you all knew it. We all knew that this was going to be the thing. But it's still got a huge reaction. Io's over as fuck, too, by the way. So it's not a women's division problem. Fans like female wrestlers. Asuka was well liked. She was over. Charlotte Flair was over. Fucking Bianca Belair was over. Rhea Ripley was over like crazy. Women are over in WWE. It was just Ronda and Shayna that got shit on really hard. Now Io Sky, man, when she cashed in, the crowd was hot for it. They knew as soon as her music hit and Bianca was in the ring and she was injured. It was the perfect setup. That some shit was going to pop off, and she got a big, long celebration, too, after she won. She was holding it up. The crowd was really eating that shit up. She actually got a very strong reaction, so I think they got a hell of a little baby face in her. I don't know if they're still trying to do the heel thing with damage control, and Bayley was very supportive. And Bayley was on point like a motherfucker, too. Bayley is so underrated. So just even the small role that she played here, the way she went in there and just fucking smashing people with when she came in, she cleared out Charlotte and Asuka with the briefcase and cleared the way for fucking, it was all good. It was beautiful. It was well done. It was a well done cash in. Predictable, doesn't matter. It was well done. The main event of the evening. This got me hyped as hell, by the way. I was excited to see this. I found myself kind of laughing to myself, to be 100% honest with you, because here I am. Here's me, Seth Grimes, sitting in a football stadium that I paid a hefty ticket price for. Hefty for me, because when you go to like an arena show, you can get a ticket for like $40. All to essentially see my tribal chief, Roman Reigns. I said it. When he said SummerSlam acknowledge me, I was waiting to acknowledge my tribal chief. I was. This fucking man has come around. I was one of the most vocal Roman Reigns haters in existence. When they were shoving him down my throat and he had the blue eye contacts and he was suffering succotash and WrestleMania win LOL every fucking year. And boy, they just kept trying and kept trying and kept trying, and it was like, my God. And you knew that there was no end in sight because they had just done it with John Cena for 10 years. Now that John Cena was aging out and he had finally won the respect of everybody by the end of that. But we went through 10 years of Cena being shoved down our throats. So now Roman's the guy and he's being shoved down our throats, and we know there's no end in sight because they didn't give up on Cena. So what makes us think that they're going to give up on Roman, no matter how hard he gets booed at the end of a WrestleMania when he's supposed to be a babyface? Doesn't matter. But that heel turn and putting him with Paul, He's in God mode. He's been in God mode. And I mean God mode. I mean he is effortless. He's in it. He is one with the Matrix. I've said this before. Roman Reigns is one with the Matrix. And the best I can explain this is just there is no wasted motion. He is in absolute control. When you think you're going too slow, slow down more. Roman Reigns. He milks shit. That entrance takes a half hour for him to walk to the ring. No one cares because it's fucking glorious and you're basking in Roman Reigns' glory. You know, he just slowly saunters and then he'll just stand there and he'll wait for the music cue to do the one finger up and then the pyro popping off. And the pyro was disappointing, by the way. I don't know how it came off on TV land, but the pyro in person was very uneventful. They were a little cheap little... They looked like shit. They weren't big stadium fireworks like you would expect. Disappointing. But whatever. Roman fucking milked his big long entrance, comes out in God mode. Every single look. You can just see him, like when the crowds were, just every single thing he does. He does this, just, and the whole crowd just boos him. You know what I mean? And he gets this angry, side look on his face when the crowd's starting to chant for Jey Uso. The crowd's getting under his skin, but he barely he's so good at the subtleties of selling without trying to sell. That's layered, okay? Because you see the guys, they'll sell and they'll go, girl, don't you, and that's one way to do it, right? Stop, That's one way to do it, but Roman's got a way of just going, and I'm doing it no justice, but he'll just a grimace almost, but he's trying to hide it. He's trying to not let the crowd get to them or let anybody know that the crowd's getting to him, but they're getting to him. He's so good. He's so good. He's sitting under the learning tree of Paul Heyman for focus. There we go. Sitting under the learning tree of Paul Heyman for a couple years now. And probably, not only that, but being the main event, he's getting all the attention and advice from Vince and Triple H and everybody else and their mom. He's just tapped into the Matrix. He's absolutely flawless. There's not a thing wrong that Roman Reigns does. Nothing. His matches are big angles, though. I did mention that earlier. It was a match. They had a match. It was a match. Yeah, it was a match. It wasn't like a great match. It wasn't like, oh my God, but the Bloodline matches have become, what's the angle? How's this going to play out? What's the ending of this? And that's fine because it's a story and that's why everybody's hooked and that's why, the ratings are there for it and people are watching. That's what packs the fucking Ford Field. Roman Reigns versus Jey Uso. Jay got a lot of love from the crowd, but he wasn't like Cody Rhodes over, and he wasn't like LA Knight over. You know what I mean? But I think the fans. It's not like Jay's the next big baby face. I think the fans were just heavily invested in this angle, and people were on the edge of their seats for this. They were absolutely into this. Like I said, I think they stayed more reserved during the triple threat women's match just to kind of have the energy to put into this. But you could still tell it was kind of like, all right, what's the end of this? And they went late. God, we didn't get out of there till 12:30. I think it was supposed to go to 11 or 11:30, but we got out of there. It was 12:30. Long show. But I think the crowd was a little not happy about Jimmy Uso turning on Jay. It got a heel reaction, but it was, I don't know that people want to see the Usos split up. I think that's the thing. I think you don't got to break up every tag team. You don't got to do brother versus brother all the time. Sometimes you can just be homies and get along, right? I don't know that we want to see the Usos, and maybe we'll reserve judgment. Maybe Jimmy will try to bring Jay back into the fold, talk him into. But it feels like they're just heading to Jimmy versus Jay at Payback, which I don't know. I personally don't want to see that. Maybe they'll tell the good story that's going to make people go, I have to see that. Maybe you're loving this. Maybe you're like, oh my God, that's the next chapter of this fucking crazy, insane story. What a twist. To me, it almost comes off as twist for the sake of twist. Like, oh, how do we Russo this bitch here? Oh, we'll just have Jimmy come back and turn on Jay, even though Jimmy was out with an injury angle from the bloodline, and Jay was avenging his brother. And it was originally his brother who was. It's messy, and they got some splaining to do on SmackDown, but the storyline's been so good, I'll reserve judgment and see what Sir Jimmy Uso has to say about everything. But it does kind of play into what I had talked about with Cody earlier, is that I think we're gonna get to a point by WrestleMania where we're gonna be ready to see Roman lose that belt. I think we're getting there now. I think I don't want to say it's run its course because it's the hottest thing in wrestling, but I think by the time we get to WrestleMania, I think we'll be ready for that change. We'll be needing that change. And I think when it's Cody versus Roman too, I think the crowd will be twice as behind Cody for it. And maybe that was by design, now they'll play it out and stretch it out and not make it boring and watered down and stupid by then. Just if they can time it to the point where the fans are ready to move on. I think they're getting there at this point. Because now you got Jimmy turning against Jay, and it's like, well, come on now. You know what I mean? I thought it was going to be more of a, the bloodline starting to unravel. And now that the Usos are out of it, and now fucking Solo's coming for Roman's spot, and thought that was the angle. Now, if you're just going to add Jimmy back into the bloodline and only Jay's on the outs, then I don't know. But we'll see. We'll see. We'll see. They've earned my trust, okay? Hey, remember when I killed that mosquito earlier in the show? That was pretty sweet, huh? That's it. I mean, I got to tell you, so overall thoughts, and we'll wrap this up real quick here, but just kind of put a bow on it. I had a fun time going to Detroit. Props to the city of Detroit for making at least that downtown area very fun. It was fun with the live music, and people were out in the streets. It was a very vibrant area. Not just wrestling fans, but locals were out on the streets, going to the restaurants, hopping to bars, going to whatever other events. The theater line was packed, next to Mom's Spaghetti, the theater for the Fillmore. People were going out, man. It was out on the town Saturday night in Detroit, and it was hopping. So props to them. Had a great time at the show itself. Ford Field, a wonderful venue. The atmosphere of the show, the crowd was hyped as fuck. It was fun to be there. The show itself was a little lackluster. I would have liked to have. You buy the ticket because you want to be a part of it, right? And you want to say, I was there for SummerSlam when this happened. But I don't feel like there was any big, oh my God, there was no huge surprises, no no John Cena surprise run-in, no The Rock, no giant title change. I wouldn't consider Io Sky's winning the fucking women's title to be that big of a deal. So it was rather uneventful, SummerSlam to say the least, but it was a fun experience to be there nonetheless. And I was happy with my experience and happy to be a part of everything that went down there. And I'm excited to go back and watch the show now with commentary and all the camera angles and everything. But could have been better. Wasn't the greatest show I've ever seen live. Wasn't the greatest show, obviously, I'm sure, on pay-per-view either. But cool to be there. What are your thoughts? Were you there by chance? Let me know down in the comments below. Otherwise, just let me know what you thought about the show or what you thought about the review here or, the in-person live perspective. And then the parking garage, my God, I don't know what the hell happened, but getting out of that parking garage, it took an hour and a half. I sat still, didn't even move. I was stuck on the 6th floor, just fucking sitting in my car. Could have took a nap. Didn't get home till 5 in the morning. It was miserable. But you didn't come here to hear me bitch. You came here for the review, and you got your review. Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe at Seth Grimes Media, Facebook, TikTok, and Twitter. And, of course, check out the Pro Wrestling podcast. I will be back next week with my regularly scheduled Pro Wrestling podcast. Until then, peace, love, and pizza. I am your boy, Seth Grimes, and we'll catch you in the next review.